So the flight that I was originally going to take, I was going to reschedule it so my first flight got canceled. I was going to reschedule it for today, and that one got canceled like an hour before it was taking off. So I'd have been like so screwed. I'd just been chilling in Orlando for like 3 whole days, or I guess I would have been in Cocoa Beach, but still. Yeah, I slept like 1 hour out of the past like 36 or whatever before I finally got to sleep.
That's brutal. At least you
Because
just got
I'm not one to sleep in the yeah.
on the plane.
I know that'd have been tough. I couldn't fall asleep on the plane, but I'm glad I got on there. Yeah, because I know like Allegiant, I guess, is canceling like all their flights because they don't have pilots or whatever. But we can get right into it though if you want to start talking the Wolves game.
Yeah, let's do it. Oh, are you
Okay.
already recording?
Yeah, I'm already recording. I don't know. We can do a cold open, but no. So the Wolves game that was on, I believe, Monday. This was a brutal game because they were without Cat, D'Lo, and Ant, who are like clearly their 3 best players. So losing this game in the fashion of which we lost it as well was just brutal. Like we were basically playing the G League Timberwolves, and we caught the L here.
Yeah, really tough with the 3 best players for them being out. We were kind of watching this one together down in Wilmington, and they just blew it in the 4th.
Yeah, like they were just sloppy in the second half. Like I get that they were without Tatum, but this kind of brings back to the point that I kind of talked about a few weeks ago, where it's like I think Tatum is more of a number one. I do think Jaylen Brown's like obviously a star player, but I think he just is like a good number 2. Like I think he's just complemented better when he just is able to work off of another star. And we kind of noticed that this week where he really, not himself struggled, but the team seemed to struggle without Tatum in there, with Jaylen Brown just doing most of the heavy lifting that usually Tatum would do in those situations. Also defensively, like we let a guy named Nathan Knight, who I'd never even heard of. Like I don't know if he was playing in the NBA before like all the COVID stuff happened, but he had 20 and 10. We had Jalen Noel had like 29 points. I'm not like I don't watch Timberwolves a lot. They're one of those teams that they're not super relevant, and they're on the West Coast, or I guess like the West. So I don't get to watch very many of their games, but like I don't think he's dropping 29 too often. And
no, I've
we
never
had
heard of him either.
I've heard a little bit of him. I know he's like solid. I think Timberwolves fans like them, but I mean 29 off guys.
Oh yeah,
just
yeah.
Like
I've heard of Jalen Noel. I meant Nathan Knight.
Oh no, yeah, Nathan Knight. Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea where he came from. I think someone told me about him. Like he was from, wasn't it Jack telling us he was from a small school?
Oh yeah, it might have been from High Point or something.
I think he was. Yeah, I think he was like from one of the I don't know, one of the schools UNCW played, and he was like a monster.
But yeah,
we can't have.
I saw this little Twitter exchange or something between Greg Monroe and Jalen Noel, and it was like Monroe saying, "I've never even heard of the guy, but he was hooping tonight." Or I think he had a big dunk actually on someone, and that's when Monroe, who's a recent pickup for them, even realized who it was.
Yeah, I mean, Greg Monroe, like he's one of those guys that I feel like, I mean, if I were to think about it, I'd be like, oh yeah, he's like probably in his mid-30s. I think he's only like 28 or like 27. Like he's still fairly young, but he's been out of the league for a couple of years, I believe, or he's been like kind of in and out of the league. But he had an incredible game too off the bench. I think he had 11 points, 9 boards. And it's like, we can't be allowing these guys that were basically just off the street a couple of weeks ago to come in and be very successful against us. And that's what it came down to. Like it was just brutal. Like the Celtics as a team, I was more concerned offensively than defensively. The defensively wasn't good either when you're playing a bunch of G League guys. But they shot 37% from the field. I mean, they shot 34% from 3, the Celtics did. But, I mean, 37% from the field is just ugly. I think they only had 11 free throws. It's just like –
attempted 14 threes.
Yeah, he was chucking. No, I mean – it's just like the team gets complacent when they struggle. They continue to shoot threes, and we'll talk about this for the next game we have where it was even worse. I don't know. Maybe it was the next game they only had 11 free throws. Yeah, that was the next game. But no, I think I don't know, they get complacent. We need a guy that can really attack the basket. I mean, Jaylen Brown, I felt like used to be that guy. He never had a super high free throw rate, but he needs to work on, or he needs to get to the line more. We need guys that are going to be better at getting to the line and getting easy buckets because we're settling way too much for threes and just like jump shots. And it's clearly not working, especially against bad teams where we shouldn't be settling for bad shots against teams that like aren't good defensive teams. And we know the Timberwolves aren't. They're historically last few years they've been an awful defensive team. I think they're a little bit better this year, but we can't be doing this if we want to like actually be competitive and like hope to maybe win a playoff series, which seems almost out of the picture at this point.
Yeah, and this Timberwolves team, even if they are better defensively this year, it's certainly not with the unit that they rolled out against us.
Yeah,
so
I know. Like it's guys right off the streets and they were just dominating. But I think the only guys I thought really played well and were pretty efficient in this game were Grant and Al. They both had solid games shooting the ball. So we need to figure out a way to kind of improve that offensively for sure.
I think it'll kind of be a trickle down effect too. Like when Jason and Jaylen start going downhill and they're getting fouled, the defense starts needing to collapse, and then the kickouts are open, creating, a better look at three. But yeah, Grant's been a spark. Man, we need it. It's hard to find light in this season. So Grant shooting is one of them for sure.
Yeah, and Romeo's one is weird because he has spark. I think he just looks so good at sometimes, but looks so bad at other times. He can be within the same game. I think this was the game he had 4 steals and 3 blocks or something crazy like that. But I think he also like led the team with like a negative 27 plus minus or something like ridiculous like that. Yeah, so it's just like I don't know. He's been so up and down, and nice to get some consistency. Sometimes he just like looks like he fits so well next to the Jays, and other times he just looks like so out of place, like especially offensively. So hopefully he can kind of figure it out. It feels like there's been a continuing argument with a lot of these young guys, and that was something I heard. I can't remember who else mentioned it, but just like the development, like it just seems like other teams are able to develop these mid to late first round picks, and we just haven't been able to turn these guys into like consistent solid role players for the most part. I mean, you can use Grant as an outlier, but it just seems like we definitely as a franchise, and I get that there's coaching change, need a better plan of development.
I'm hoping that it's not that we can't develop these guys, it's just maybe that we aren't developing them as fast. Because when I look at some of the guys we talked about, especially like Romeo, Pritchard, Grant's playing well, but I really don't mind these guys getting these opportunities. And it's kind of hard to say right now with how bad the Jays are playing, but they did like look really bad in their first few seasons comparatively to now. So I know only Pritchard's the only one in his second year still, but
Neesmith too.
Neesmith as well. Yeah. So I'm fine with guys like that getting the chances and it not looking perfect in the beginning. I think it's just kind of trickle down frustration because we felt like we already went through this with the Jays. So when they struggle too, it's like, who did we develop?
I mean, Tatum seemed to have a fairly linear. He obviously had one setback, like his second year. That was the year that like the lineup was just too crowded. That was the year after they made the Eastern Conference Finals. I think Jaylen had a setback that year as well. But like you saw significant leaps in like Jaylen from year 1 to year 2. Like he went from being a guy that looked like was looking kind of like a bust. I think he averaged like 6 points a game to being like, I think he went to like 13 or 15 the next year. So I always like use Toronto as an example because they seem to consistently get value out of their like later picks. Like they had OG was like back in the first round. Siakam was, I believe, a second round pick. Like they just Van Vliet was undrafted. Like they just consistently get guys to be like solid, like starters, like solid rotation players for us. And it just seems like with the Celtics, it's just been so up and down with what you get. You've had so many guys flame out over the past few years, and you have guys like Neesmith and Pritchard, especially Pritchard, who had a really promising rookie year, has just seemed to take a massive leap back. And I think a lot of that's just due to inconsistent play. And that's what my biggest reason why I think we should just trade Schroeder, try and get any value we can out of him, then give Neesmith and Pritchard some more runs, so we at least know what we have out of them. See what we got, because it's getting to the point where you're right. Like, maybe it's just slow, but at the same time, like, the point of getting these young players, you want to develop them while they're still on the rookie contract, so they're still cheap. Like,
Yeah,
it's not really beneficial to.
I hadn't really thought of that with Pritchard. I guess the part of me that likes Schroeder is certainly the win now part, and that was a little easier 8-9
when we were winning.
Yeah. Still feel like what we're paying him, we're getting him for a steal, but I guess I wouldn't mind seeing what value we can get to.
If we can just get like something like, I'm hoping like maybe a heavily protected first, even like maybe like 2 seconds, I think would be a pretty good value for him. But like, he can help a team now, and like the Celtics just aren't ready to compete right now. I don't like, even with both the Jays, like, I think we're a year away. I think we need to see what we have in Pritchard and Nesmith to really address what we need to do going forward. Because we're seriously, like, I hate this talk, but it's seriously like starting to get to that point. I don't think it's this year, but I think probably at some point next year, where if they're still struggling, we're gonna have a conversation about maybe moving on from one of the Jays, just to see if like maybe a different type of player will fit better next to the other one. But that's a conversation for next year, I think.
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans are. I still am on the side of patience. Like, I would hate to give one of these guys up and then just watch them explode. Like, I feel like I know they will. So yeah, I'm willing to talk about that next year. I don't really like people. Isn't the deadline right around the corner?
Yeah, I think people are getting a little too soon. I think it's usually in like February, I want to say. So yeah, like not too far away. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't really know. We could probably look that up. It changes every year because the schedule's been so thrown off because of COVID the last couple of years that it keeps flipping around where it is. But moving on to the second game we had this week was the Clippers, which was literally like one of the worst shooting performances, like not even kidding, like one of the worst 3-point shooting performances of all time. I think the only one that was worse was the Rockets. Because I think they showed a statistic, like out of teams that shot 40 plus threes, like only the Rockets had a worse percentage. I think the Rockets one time were like 2 for like 47, and the Celtics were, or like 4 for 47, and the Celtics were 4 for 42, which was at below 10% from three, which is not good by any means.
And I mean, obviously Kawhi's been out the whole year, but Paul George didn't play.
BJ Boston was out.
Yeah.
Our
old friend Marcus Morris had a decent game. I loved him in Boston. I really did. But he had 23 and 10.
But I mean, even defensively though, they played fine. I mean, they only held them. It was 93 points. Right. Like 91. It's just the problem was the Celtics 91. The Celtics scored 82 points, which is the biggest issue because, I mean, they shot 42%, or they shot 9% from three. They had only 11 free throws. Like, they just did everything that like is not conducive to winning basketball. Like Jalen, like you can't even blame him. He took 36 shots and he had 0 assists, but like you can't even blame him because the offense was so putrid around him that it really was like, what else is he supposed to do? Like, I think I read somewhere that he had 8 potential assists, so like 8 shots that should have been like fairly easy looks that could have been assists that just weren't converted. So like obviously you don't get every potential assist, but even getting half for them would be 4 assists, which looks much better. But
I can't believe that they found a way to shoot 34%, and that was with Rob being 8 for 10. So it's like you've got a big man filling up 10 of the shots with 80% shooting and still get into the 34%. That's
I mean, Rob's gonna shoot a high percentage. I think it's very rare to see Rob shoot anywhere like below even like 60% most of the time when he plays, because he's just like literally like one of the most efficient guys like in NBA history around the rim. I think he's like in the top like 5%.
He doesn't always even get 10 looks. So like for 10 of the starting lineups shots to be at an 80% clip and still down to 34, it's just crazy.
Yeah, they probably should have found a way to get the ball inside a little bit more, because it seemed to be working a lot better than just hucking up threes. But yeah, Rob, so that game,
14 boards and 2 blocks too. Once again, trying to find light in this dark stretch. Rob's been
Yeah.
incredible. I'm about to go even harder on it when we talk about the Suns game, but
Yeah,
man,
I mean, he looked good, especially like offensively. Obviously, like I'm a huge fan of Rob. I like I like the combination of he and Al together. I think it just kind of like levels him out and allows him to play his role even better. Um, but yeah, I mean, Rob was good this game. It was one of the few guys that really were good because this was an absolutely brutal game. But he is limited of what he can do. Like he's a decent free throw shooter for a big man. He shoots around like 70%, but he really doesn't shoot the ball like outside of like 3 feet most of the time. So even if he's hot, like you're really limited of what you can do. You're really limited of like how many points he can score because he's only gets so many like decent looks like around the rim. Like
right.
that's just the nature of the game. But he
Al
played
really
fine.
did. Al did stuff the stat sheet too, considering he shot like absolute shit. He
Yeah,
had
I mean that
10
was everyone.
8 assists, 3
Yeah,
blocks.
his passing was very good this week. I didn't get his assist numbers from the Minnesota game, but I did from our next game we talked about, the Suns game. I believe he had 7 assists in that game.
He had
To
6
follow up with
against
his
the
8 assists
Timberwolves, 8 against the Clips. You want to move on to
and
Phoenix?
7, and yeah, and we can just move on to Phoenix and 7 against the Suns. I believe. I think he had 4, 7, and 7 for
So
points, rebounds, assists.
the big no is the first triple double of the season comes from Rob Williams. I don't think anyone would have projected that. I
That's
saw that
crazy. I
the
didn't.
last one was Tatum, and it
Well,
was
we had
last season.
Yeah, well, we had the Tatum one earlier this year, like that the one that I bet on that was I think he had like 10 assists, 9 or like 7.5 boards and 7.5 boards and 8 assists. So he's like or 7 boards and 8 assists. He was very close or 8 points. He was very close. But yeah, and Rob like almost had this in the second. Like honestly, his second half was kind of underwhelming based on like how his first half went. I'm pretty sure he had the 10 points and the 9 rebounds and like the 6 assists. And I think it was 10, 9, and 6 at the half. So he kind of slowed down in the second half, but either way, just an incredible performance out of Rob. We've talked
5
about it before. He's a very
blocks, 2
underrated passer.
steals.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when he's on, like he can do so many things. Like, he's just such a high energy guy and such a freak athlete. But he's just a very underrated passer. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. We've talked about that with him and Al, about how important it is, I think, for them to be a part of the offense as playmakers and make it easier for Jalen and Tatum in order to get them easy looks. Because like these guys can really move the ball, and it's very rare to have big men like this that can do that very consistently. So that was good to see out of him.
One of my favorite things when we re-signed Al was just thinking about sort of the locker room and practice presence he'd have on Rob, because Rob's obviously very gifted athletically, but Al conversely really dominates with like footwork and good passing. So I'm
and just
just
being a smart ball player, like
right. And
defensively, he's like such high IQ.
a veteran. He's been on winning teams. So that was one of my favorite things when we signed Al, just knowing that Rob can soak that in. Rob seems very willing to learn. He seems very humble. I'm sure that's a great presence in practice.
Yeah. A big fan of Al. This
Smart
was
had a great game.
Smart and Jalen both, I think, like 24, right around there.
At 24 each.
Grant started at small forward, which I think was the first time in his career he started at small forward. I think he's like only played small forward like 1% of his career minutes, maybe even less than that. So that was interesting. It worked. It was very interesting. We should note, to be fair to the Suns, to the Celtics, the Suns were without, I think, all their players above like 6'7", aside from Jalen Smith, who's like a 6'10" second-year player. So they were down pretty much all their bigs. And then the Celtics decided to go like super big on them. And Rob was able to really take advantage of that, especially in the first half.
They kind of did to the Suns what Philly did to us that game I went to a few weeks ago.
I mean, not quite, because Rob didn't have 41 and 16, but yeah, they were able to take advantage of. And Jalen Smith is not a rim protector; he's kind of more of a stretch five. So they really were able to take advantage of it, just be able to kind of play a more physical game than the Suns, and that's just the nature of the Suns and NBA big men. So, I mean, we
I know
can't
that
get too high on the Celtics, although it was a very great game.
I know
What
they're
were you gonna
big
say about
in
Aiden?
play, but it's still a big win. I mean, on the road in Phoenix when Booker and Chris Paul win, and we also don't have Tatum. So, I mean, this has kind of been the story of the season. They'll lose enough to really piss you off and then pull off one big game. So hopefully we're not back to the losing routine. But I mean, this is a big win.
Yeah. So aside from that,
If
like
you look
pretty
at
much the
the
whole team had
bench
good offensive
production,
performances.
yeah, offensively they were great. 11 for Pritchard on perfect shooting, 19 for Richardson, 16 for Romeo, and we only went 8 deep.
Yeah, we went with a very short lineup. I think it's because we really needed a win. And then I know, like, and we had a day break, and then we come back and we get to play the Magic. So hopefully we can get it started. I mean, the Magic right now we're at 11.5-point favorite. So this is gonna be tough. I believe we get Tatum back today. Last I saw, he's questionable. I don't know if that's changed. So this is like a really, I wouldn't say a must win, but like I would really it'd be very nice for the Celtics to win this game for us.
Tatum actually
So we kind of
downgraded
move on to, like I said, oh, that sucks. Yeah, I saw he's questionable, and I think they said he had a good chance to play, but yeah, that's tough. But either way, we still have Jalen. I think the Magic are in a pretty tough situation as well. I think they have a lot of guys out. They're playing a lot of like 10-day contract guys. The Celtics do have most of their core back, aside from actually, I don't know. I think Rob was questionable too, so I don't know if Rob will be back for this game.
Yeah, he's still showing day to day, and then Neesmith and Schroeder are still out.
Yeah, so we'll have most of our core back, but we are still favored 11.5.
Yeah, no Fultz, Anthony, or Bamba. I don't know if Bamba's been playing, but no Cole Anthony's big.
I mean, those guys. I mean, those are probably three of the probably 5 best players or so, 5 or 6 best players. Yeah. So I mean, we're huge favorites. We should win this game. Some bets I'll make. I'll post this on the Mainly Celtics Twitter. At Celtics Mainly, but I'm gonna take Magic to actually cover the spread, but I'm gonna take the Celtics money line. So Magic against the spread. Our Magic spread is minus 110. Celtics money line is minus 675, so not really making much there. And then I'm gonna take the under as well. The under's at 215, especially now that Tatum's out. 215.5, and that's at minus 105.
Yep.
Did it change already?
Up to 260 now. I'll go with you on the under. I'm not going to touch the total, but I don't know. I could see the Celtics blowing them out. I'll rock with the under. 216 is my only play today, though. I would love to just see like a 110 to 80 win.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I don't think it's going to be super high scoring. I think if it is high scoring, I think it's going to be the Celtics and not the Magic, because I think the Celtics are going to play a good defensive game. They have most of their guys back. I think they're really going to probably grit and grind. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics have an off shooting night and still able to get the win. I just don't see them the way they've been playing recently just to blow out a team. So that's why I'm going with the Magic to cover. But that's all I have.
For me to think it's a blowout, that's for sure.
We have NFL football. Are you in any championships in any of your leagues?
I'm not.
But that's tough. I've been one championship. I have a 2-week championship, which I hate because week 17 is like week 18 this year is always such a crapshoot because it's like most teams are resting because they're pretty much set in their ways. Like teams that are eliminated, they'll rest their guys. They don't get injured. Teams that have their playoff spot locked in, they'll rest their guys. Sometimes once like the games are out of hand either way, they'll just sit their guys. So
we really need to go off today. I saw the
Cooper Kupp would be cool.
I saw the Lions coach say they're going to let Swift absolutely rip this week.
I hope so, because I have Swift. I have Cooper Kupp. I wouldn't mind Tyler Huntley going off. I picked him up. I picked up
Kupp is record chasing this week. I think
he could get two. I don't think he's record chasing this week, but I think he has a chance to be the first wide receiver.
You know what I'm saying? I just meant he has motivation to perform.
Yeah, he could get 2K, which would be crazy. Hopefully, maybe he just gets it all this week. It's like 300 or something receiving yards, and just four teeds or something like that. That'd be sick. Yeah. So I need Cooper Kupp to go off. I think I have in that league. I think I have Kelsey.
That might be a good game.
Yeah, either Kelsey or Waller. I don't remember. Yeah, that should be a high scoring one. That should be a fun game to watch. What time's that one? Is that 4:25?
That's at 1.
Oh, it's at 1. Really? That's crazy. I didn't like flex that, but yeah. So I guess I'll be watching that one for sure, 1:00. But other than that,
Yeah,
do you have anything else?
I think that's it. Big win against Phoenix. Should be an easy win tonight. So hopefully they can get a little momentum.
Yeah, for sure. Should be an easy win. Let's hope.
Let's just give a little bit of credit real quick to DeMar DeRozan. 2 straight
Oh, yeah, dude.
insane buzzer-beating threes. The Bulls are Showtime basketball right now, and it's sick.
Like, as crazy as it is, like, I don't think it's absurd to say right now that he, as it stands today, that he should be first team All-NBA.
He's one of the most underrated players, and I really felt for him when the Raptors won it all the year he left.
I really hope that he gets an first team All-NBA because I think like he's very questionably like going to be like the greatest player from this generation, just that no one will remember in history. Because like he was so good and so consistent for such a long time, but his team's never did anything like playoff wise, and he's like always been one of those guys like you said, like kind of like overlooked and like never really had like a super high like one peak season like say Derrick Rose. Like I think Derrick Rose is still much more recognizable of a name. Right. I think if you just pull the comment because he has his own shoe line, because he has his he won the MVP. So I'm really hoping that DeMar DeRozan does something because he is filthy, but he's just in a very weird spot, like where he like hasn't really done anything like super duper memorable in his career.
But he's so consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just been solid. He's been like just a border like an all-star caliber player for the past like decade or so.
So, yeah, that's my closing note. DeMar's a killer. Go Celtics.
Okay, we'll see you guys next week. Peace.